All right, we're getting ready to send the Ford Ranger off, and I wanted to just do one more test drive on this to see. Last time we did have a couple of batteries that made the alarm go off, and we've taken those out and put some new ones in. So, and I got it charged back up and balanced those batteries, because you can't just throw batteries in, you got to charge them up and see. So now we're gonna do our distance just to see on this course. That's the seatbelt alarm, not the battery alarm. So we see we're right here at 194 as we cruise by our thing. All right, I'm putting this at 0. Yeah, wow. Our 2 mile trek will come right to this guy's fence right here. One thing, when we did our last distance test, we hadn't put air in the tires, so the tires were down a little bit, and having low tires is going to make a difference. So when we're looking at our amp gauge here, we see we're using 50 amps, 45 amps. Now and our speed is about 30 miles an hour, 25. We'll see if this doesn't go down a little bit as everything gets warmed up. But if we had 100 amp hours to work with and we're using 50, then in 2 hours we would have used up our amp hours, and whatever speed we're going at, we'll have 2 hours of that. So if you're going 30 miles an hour, and you're using 50 amps, then that will be that. And I'm going to give it a little juice because I want to see if the alarm goes off. No, look at that, 200 amps. That's pretty good. And this is just we just have the old Cal batteries hooked up. We don't have the new. So some of the things I would have done, one thing I noticed is that we don't have anything that turns the car off when the emergency brake is off. So what this means is it's possible to step on the emergency, or to try to go with the emergency brake on. And because these electric cars have a lot of pull, they can sometimes overcome the emergency brake, and you won't know you got it on, and then before you know it, the emergency brake doesn't work. So a little switch on there, that when the emergency brake is on and you turn the key on, a buzzer comes on or something. That's one thing I would have done. The other thing is the 120 volt outlet that plugs in the side of the truck is, when both chargers are plugged in, he's a little overworked. He's drawing a lot of amps for a 120 outlet. Gonna need at least 12 gauge an extension cord to wick the heat away from the outlet, and I'd almost upgrade that. Of course, the other thing is that in some ways charging these batteries at the slowest rate is the best thing for them. For lithium, they don't need to be charged quickly. So we're going about 30. Oh, look at this. We're going 30 miles an hour and using less than 50 amps. We don't know what that, if we held it steady. Definitely when you pump the tires up, it's a little bouncier of a ride. Yeah. Plus this has got, I think, big springs for golf cart batteries. The other thing, if I was doing stuff, this has a tilt bed. The bed will actually tilt up, and so the batteries could go all underneath, which is
giving you more access up.
Yeah, you have the whole bed of the truck. But I guess that doesn't matter. Vacuum pump, hose or something. That's why we hear that vacuum pump running. The other thing is there's no RPM sensor on here. So if you leave it in first or second gear, you could over rev the motor. I think second gear is probably good up to about 45. We ought to find out the RPM of what all this is, so you don't go over 5,500 with the motor.
So what did we get finally with the range? Where are we at with the range?
Well, we're going to find that out right now. I mean, kind of a short estimate. What we were at 2 when we went the first lap around, right? Mm-hmm. So, and we're almost to 6. Yeah, we're at 6. So if it was at 2 and we use 6, that means we've used 4 amp hours. That's not too bad. That shows you how much the air in the tires made a difference. We were at a little over 3 amp hours a mile, and now we're at 2 amp hours, 2.2 and a quarter. So 2 and a quarter, maybe we'll go one more time around. 2 and a quarter amp hours per mile. If you got, that means to go 10 miles, you'd use 22 amp hours. 10, and you do 5 times, that's 50 miles. Yeah, maybe 50 miles at that speed. They're taking it easy. Of course, it may loosen up a little bit more. And we may get more amp hours out of this with the other pack. The other pack is probably 35, 40 amp hours. And this, yeah, I don't think this is going to be much more than 70 amp hours out of the old one, maybe 80. So you might get 115 amp hours. But the other thing with a lot of people like to get in the car and right away find out how far it goes, mm-hmm. and then they run it all the way down. I wish I had a battery for every time I got a call of I was seeing how far it would go, and all of a sudden it stopped. The other mistake a lot of people make is I was driving it around and I was really so happy with it, and I was getting home. I was almost home, and I thought I'd see how fast it would go. You don't want to see how fast it'll go when it's almost empty. You don't want to see how far it'll go if you're going to be a ways from home. Now what'll happen...
Without a place to plug in.
Yeah, without a place to plug in. Now what'll happen is... when an alarm goes off and it shuts down, you can take your foot off the gas pedal and creep home if you're only, half a mile away or so. Which is all you get used to. You look at the voltage, you'll know what your voltage is, and then you know where empty is. Yeah, actually, look at that. We're going 30 and 40, so we'll see. All right, so what was the other thing? I guess that's it. So yeah, we should have something to remind you the emergency brake is on. We should have something to remind you that it's plugged in. Some kind of, a lot of times a little switch on the gas door is a good idea with an alarm. So you turn the key on and you've got your door gas flap open, and then that sends the alarm off.
Now, because these batteries were so low at one point, and we really had a time of resurrecting them, well, first of all, do they still run a risk of one of them going bad? And what do you do in that case?
Well, this will be depending on how.
And what's a good way to prevent it?
Yeah, well, not going, draining them down too far is a good way.
Mm-hmm. pay attention to that BMS.
These need more cycles on them to wake them up, as it were, and get them used to. The other thing is that
So the more you drive it.
Yeah, short cycles of driving, charging, driving, charging. Oh, the RPM thing. Yeah, you don't want to over rev that motor. One of the original owner actually did that. Hey, we were. Oh yeah, if you're in too high a gear, like third gear, and you're going slow, that lugging of the motor in the controller will make the controller go into thermal cutback, which then it reduces its power output. If you go up there and feel on top of the controller, it'll be very warm. So that's why second gear is easier on the controller and the motor. Of course, once you get up to a certain speed, you're going to have to shift. All right, so we're coming up to it's funny on this. Okay, so it says 10 amp hours, 10.4, and the first the first time around according to this is 2 miles, 10.6. So we went 4 miles. Was it? Did we start off on 5 amp hours? Or 2 amp hours? No, we started off on 2. So we've used 8 to go 5 miles. So that's a little less than 2. Yeah, this is a little less than 2 amp hours a mile. Well, it's the guy that bought the chicken and was very disappointed when he didn't get any golden eggs out of that chicken. Look at this guy coming. Oh, he's turning right.
There's another. Oh, that could have been bad. That guy's in a hurry. Didn't even have time to slow down and turn. That's how you know you're in a hurry.
All right, so now we're going to just give it a little juice and see. No alarm, so that's pretty good. Huh. All right. Wow. Well, I guess that's enough videoing.